Welcome to your deep dive, and today we're going deep on parallel worlds.
Parallel worlds.
I know you're fascinated by science and philosophy and even speculative fiction,
Right.
so get ready because we're going to blend all three of those as we kind of explore this concept
Hmm.
of other yous out there maybe making different choices in worlds where history took a different turn.
Yeah.
And joining us, we have an expert on this mind-bending topic.
It's really interesting, actually, that the concept of parallel worlds is not just a modern thing.
Right.
Ancient cultures had their own versions of a multiverse, with myths and stories about alternate realms and things like that.
Yeah.
But what's really cool is that today,
Yeah.
science is adding its own perspective to this, age-old fascination.
So are we essentially talking about the same concept when we say parallel
Gotcha.
worlds, alternate realities, or even mirror worlds?
I would say, yeah, like the core idea is that there are other realities
Yeah.
beyond our own.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
can imagine our universe is one bubble.
Oh, okay. And like an infinite cosmic foam,
Uh-huh.
with each bubble a universe with its own, properties and unique property.
Right.
Maybe even its own forms of life.
Okay, so that's an amazing visual.
Yeah.
Um, but how does science even begin to explain
Yeah.
this concept of these other universes?
So there's a few ways to look at it.
Okay.
One is to start with quantum mechanics,
Okay.
and specifically the many worlds interpretation.
Okay.
And this suggests that every single quantum event,
Mm-hmm.
every decision we make,
Okay.
creates a split in the universe.
So like a choose your own adventure book.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Exactly like a choose your own adventure book where
Yeah.
every choice
Uh-huh.
generates a new chapter, a new timeline.
So every time I make a decision, like a new universe is born.
That's what the many worlds interpretation would suggest.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of pressure.
It is kind of mind-boggling.
Can you give me a concrete example of
Yeah.
how this splitting would actually work?
Yep.
So imagine you have a single electron,
Okay.
which is a tiny particle, and its spin can be either up or down.
Okay.
Now, according to the many worlds interpretation,
Yeah.
the act of measuring that spin doesn't force it into one state or the other.
Okay.
Instead, the universe actually splits,
Okay.
creating one reality
Yeah.
where we observe spin up
Yeah.
and another where we observe spin down.
So there's a universe where I ordered a pizza instead of tacos last night.
Oh, there could very well be.
And another where I wore that other shirt. It's almost
Yeah.
overwhelming to think about.
It's mind-boggling for sure, but you have to keep in mind, we only ever experience our own timeline,
Right.
our own set of outcomes. So this branching is happening constantly at the quantum level,
Yeah.
leading to an unbelievable number of parallel worlds, but we are only really privy to this one that we're inhabiting.
Okay, so that's quantum mechanics.
Right.
What about string theory?
String theory.
I know it also supports the idea of a multi.
So string theory proposes that our universe might be just one of many,
Okay.
what they call brains.
Brains.
Brains, and you can think of these as like sheets or membranes
Okay.
floating in higher dimensional space.
Higher dimensional space.
Higher dimensional space.
So we usually think of like three.
We think of 3 spatial dimensions, but string theory suggests that there could be many more,
Okay.
maybe 10 or even 26.
So these extra dimensions, are they like hidden layers of reality?
You can think of it that way, like these extra dimensions might be curled up incredibly small
Uh-huh.
beyond our ability to directly perceive them,
Okay.
but they can still influence our universe in subtle ways.
And what about those black holes as gateways to other universes?
Yeah.
How does that fit in with string theory?
String theory suggests that black holes,
Yeah.
with their immense gravity warping spacetime, could potentially connect our brain to others.
Okay.
Just think of it as like a cosmic wormhole, a shortcut through higher dimensional space leading to another universe.
That's a seriously wild idea, but I like it.
Yeah, it's good.
I like where this is going.
Yeah.
So are there any other major theories about parallel universes that we should explore?
So there's also what's called the cosmological multiverse,
Right.
and this one is tied to the idea of eternal inflation
Okay.
after the Big Bang. So imagine the Big Bang
Uh-huh.
not as a single explosion, but as a process that continues to create bubble universes,
Okay.
each expanding and evolving
Yeah.
with its own set of physical laws and constants.
So like the universe is constantly giving birth to
Yeah.
new universes.
You think of it that way.
That's pretty wild.
It is, but it helps explain certain cosmological observations that we've made.
Okay.
It suggests that our universe,
Mm-hmm.
with its seemingly fine-tuned conditions for life, might not be as unique as we thought.
Uh-huh.
There could be an infinite variety of universes out there.
Right.
Some hospitable to life,
Right.
some not.
So all of these theories that we've been discussing are super mind-bending. But it begs the question, will we ever be able to prove the existence of these parallel universes?
That's the big challenge. These concepts are highly theoretical.
Right.
But with advancements in cosmology and particle physics, who knows what we might discover in the future?
It really is kind of fascinating to think about how this concept of parallel universes pops up so often in movies and in books.
It's true. Like, parallel worlds offer a rich playground for storytellers, to explore the what-ifs of our choices and our history and even our very existence.
Yeah.
And, the stories that they tell often reflect the same anxieties and fascinations that we've been talking about today.
Yeah, like in The Man in the High Castle, which imagines a world where the Axis powers won World War II. It's a chilling thought, but it really makes you think about how seemingly small choices can have huge ripple effects on history.
That's a great example. And it's not just alternate histories. Like, films like The Matrix and Inception explore the nature of reality itself, questioning whether what we perceive as real is just a simulation or a layer within a larger, more complex structure.
And don't forget about all of the superhero universes like Marvel and DC Comics.
Of course.
I mean, they're all about alternate dimensions and timelines.
Absolutely.
Where different versions of iconic heroes exist and sometimes even collide.
Superhero comics provide a very visual and action-packed way to grapple with the implications of parallel worlds.
Yeah.
They raise questions about identity and choice and the consequences of our actions, even if those actions play out in a different dimension.
It seems like whether we're talking about science fiction or even just straight up science, the idea of parallel worlds really captures our imagination.
It does.
It makes us wonder about the roads not taken.
Yeah.
The possibilities that exist beyond our own limited experience.
For sure.
But then that kind of leads into the philosophical implications of a multiverse, which I think are even more profound.
Absolutely. Like, if every possible outcome already exists somewhere, does that negate the concept of free will?
Right.
What does it even mean for something to be real if there are countless versions of ourselves out there?
Those are some really heavy questions.
They are.
And I think we're just getting started with this.
We are.
But before we dive into the philosophical deep end, let's just take a moment to reflect on what we've learned so far.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey already, hasn't it? From the mind-boggling math of quantum mechanics to the fantastical realms of science fiction.
Yeah.
The idea of parallel worlds has captured the human imagination for centuries.
Right.
And as we continue to explore the universe, both scientifically and philosophically, we may yet uncover even more astonishing truths about the nature of reality and our place within it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick break.
Oh.
And when we come back, we'll delve into some of the philosophical implications of this mind-blowing concept of parallel worlds.
All right. Before we get into the philosophy of all of this, I want to circle back to those superhero universes that we were just talking about. I think they're not just fun escapism.
Right.
They actually offer a surprisingly insightful way to explore the implications of all of this.
That's interesting. I've always loved superhero stories, but I'd never really thought about them as like a tool for philosophical exploration.
Right.
How so?
Well, think about it. You've got characters like Spider-Man or Batman who face these really agonizing choices, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Moral dilemmas with life or death consequences.
Right.
And in a lot of the comic book storylines, we see these same heroes facing these same dilemmas in alternate universes.
Right.
But making different choices.
Okay.
Which leads to drastically different outcomes.
So it's like seeing those what-if scenarios play out in a really dramatic and visually compelling way.
Exactly. Like a way to really explore those roads not taken that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I like that.
Like, for example, there's this famous Spider-Man story where in one universe, he saves his Uncle Ben from being murdered.
Right.
Which, of course, is like the defining moment in his origin story.
Right.
But then in another universe, Uncle Ben dies, and Spider-Man becomes this much darker, more vengeful hero.
That's so interesting because it really illustrates how even like seemingly small choices can have just this massive ripple effect across a whole timeline.
Exactly. And by seeing these alternate versions of the same character, we get a more nuanced understanding, I think, of their motivations and the forces that shape them.
For sure.
And it really challenges the idea of like a fixed identity or destiny.
Okay.
These stories suggest that even with the same core values and experiences, the choices that we make can lead us down radically different paths.
Wow.
And that kind of brings us back to some of those bigger philosophical questions that we were starting to unpack.
Okay, so let's dive into those.
Okay.
You mentioned the concept of free will.
Yeah.
So if there's a universe for every possible choice, does that mean our choices don't really matter?
It's a good question.
Are we just playing out a predetermined script?
That's a question that philosophers have wrestled with for centuries.
Right.
And there's no easy answer.
Yeah.
Some argue that the existence of a multiverse would imply a kind of cosmic determinism where all possibilities are already preordained.
Right.
But others say that even if all choices exist somewhere, our experience of making those choices, of deliberating and struggling and ultimately taking responsibility for our actions still holds meaning.
So even if there's a universe where I chose to be a musician instead of a podcaster, the path that I've chosen in this reality with all its ups and downs is what defines me.
Exactly. It kind of highlights the importance of that subjective experience of our personal journey through this reality, even if other realities exist. And it also raises these really interesting questions about the nature of self.
Okay.
Like, if there are countless versions of ourselves out there, which one is the real one?
Right. Like, do we have a core identity that persists across the multiverse?
Why?
Or are we fundamentally different in each reality? And if so, what does that mean for our understanding of who we are?
That's a really mind-bending question. It gets to the heart of the debate about personal identity.
Right.
Some believe that there's a fundamental essence to who we are that transcends our experiences.
Okay.
While others argue that we're constantly evolving, shaped by our choices and circumstances.
So maybe in a multiverse, it's not about finding one true self, but acknowledging the multitude of possibilities that exist within us. Like maybe we're not just one person, but a collection of potential selves, each existing in a different reality.
I like that. That's a fascinating perspective.
Yeah.
And it connects to this idea of quantum superposition, where a particle can exist in multiple states simultaneously until it's observed. So perhaps our consciousness in a multiverse is also in a state of superposition.
Wow.
Existing in multiple realities at once.
So instead of thinking of ourselves as like singular beings with a fixed identity, maybe we're more like a wave function spreading across the multiverse, with each choice collapsing us into a specific reality.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
It kind of highlights the interconnectedness of everything.
It does.
The idea that even in a multiverse, we're all part of a larger tapestry of existence.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm trying to wrap my head around all of this.
Yeah.
We've got this mind-boggling concept of parallel worlds, potentially infinite realities branching off from every decision, every quantum event. It challenges our understanding of free will, even the nature of reality itself. But how does all of this affect our lives in like a practical sense?
That's the key question, isn't it?
Right.
How do we apply these abstract concepts to our everyday lives?
Yeah.
I think it starts with a shift in perspective.
Okay.
The multiverse, even as just a theoretical concept, encourages us to embrace that vastness of possibilities, to acknowledge that there might be other paths, other outcomes that we can't even imagine.
So instead of getting stuck in regrets or what ifs, we can focus on like the infinite potential that exists in this reality, in this moment.
Exactly. It's about embracing the power of choice, knowing that even if there are other versions of ourselves making different choices, we have the agency to shape our own reality, to create the life that we want.
And I think it also fosters a sense of empathy and understanding.
It does. How so?
Well, if we can imagine other versions of ourselves making different choices, facing different challenges, it becomes easier to empathize with others who have walked different paths in this reality. We can start to see the world from multiple perspectives, recognizing that what might seem like a wrong choice to us could have led to a very different outcome in another reality.
It's like instead of judging someone for their decisions, we can acknowledge that they're navigating their own unique reality, shaped by a series of choices and circumstances that we may never fully understand.
That's sure.
It's about cultivating compassion and understanding, recognizing that even in our own reality, there are often multiple valid perspectives and no easy answers.
Right.
And that, I think, is a really powerful lesson that we can take from the contemplation of parallel worlds.
It's like even if we never definitively prove the existence of other universes, the very act of thinking about them can expand our consciousness, our capacity for empathy, and our understanding of the interconnectedness of everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we're all part of something much larger than ourselves.
Yeah.
A cosmic tapestry woven from infinite threads of possibility.
It's definitely a lot to absorb, but I have to admit, I find it strangely comforting.
Comforting, yeah.
Well, I guess it's the thought that even if things don't go as planned in this reality, there might be another version of me out there who's living out a different dream, facing different challenges, but ultimately finding their own path to happiness.
Right.
It's like a cosmic safety net, a reminder that there's always hope, even in the face of uncertainty.
I like that.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been exploring this whole idea of parallel worlds, you know, from the scientific theories to the philosophical questions that they raise.
Right.
And it's been quite a journey.
It has. We've covered so much ground from quantum mechanics to superhero comics. And I think what's striking is how this concept, whether scientifically proven or not, has the power to really change our perspective on life.
It really does. You know, it makes you think about those times in your life where you've wondered, what if I had made a different choice?
Right.
So does the multiverse offer a sense of comfort, knowing that there's another you out there who might have taken that other path?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Does knowing about these other realities make us less regretful about the choices we made?
Right.
Or does it make us more curious about those alternate versions of ourselves?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
You know, it's comforting to think that there might be a universe where that dream I didn't pursue, that risk I didn't take, worked out beautifully.
Yeah.
But it also makes you wonder about those other versions of yourself, what their lives are like, what choices they made, and what they might have learned along the way.
It's almost like imagining you have a cosmic pen pal.
Right.
Another you living a different life in a different reality.
Yeah.
What would you ask them?
That is a great question.
What could you learn from their experiences?
Maybe we'd discover that despite our different choices, we share the same core values, the same hopes and fears.
Yeah.
Or maybe we'd be surprised by how differently our lives unfolded, how the butterfly effect of even small choices can lead to drastically different outcomes.
It speaks to that interconnectedness of everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How even seemingly insignificant decisions can have a ripple effect across this vast tapestry of the multiverse.
It really does.
It's a reminder that our actions, our choices have meaning, even if we can't always see the full extent of their impact.
And it makes you appreciate the uniqueness of our own reality, our own personal journey through this specific set of circumstances. It's like out of all the infinite possibilities, this is the one we get to experience.
Yeah.
The one we get to shape with our choices and our actions.
Exactly. The multiverse, whether it exists or not, encourages us to live more intentionally, to savor those moments.
Yeah.
To embrace those challenges and to make choices that align with our values and aspirations.
Right.
It's about making this reality, the one we have, the best that it can be.
That's a powerful takeaway. So as we're wrapping up our deep dive into parallel worlds, what's the one thought, the one question you want to leave our listener with?
If you could step into the shoes of your alternate self, the one who made that other choice, what would you hope to see? What would you hope to learn?
Wow.
And how might that knowledge change the way you live your life in this reality?
Right.
The one we share.
That's a brilliant question. And I think it perfectly encapsulates the essence of what we talked about today. You know, it's been a mind-bending journey through the realms of science, philosophy, and imagination.
Right.
And while we may never have definitive answers to the mysteries of the multiverse, I think the very act of contemplating these possibilities really expands our understanding of ourselves and the universe that we inhabit.
I couldn't agree more. You know, that search for knowledge, that quest to understand our place in the cosmos is what drives us forward. And whether we find concrete evidence of parallel worlds or not, the journey itself is so enriching and transformative.
Well said. And to our listener, we hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and left you pondering the infinite possibilities that lie beyond the boundaries of our perceived reality.
I hope so.
Keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep imagining. Until next time, this is the Deep Dive signing off.